Welcome to the deep dive. I was thinking about this earlier. When we talk about building something from scratch, like a house or something, there's this expectation of complete predictability.
Oh yeah, like you measure twice, cut once.
Exactly. You're the one holding the blueprints. You buy the top tier materials, you bring in the contractors, and assuming you follow the steps, you get exactly what you planned for.
Right, because it's a simple chain of cause and effect.
Yeah.
Humans love formulas.
Yeah.
We crave that predictability.
We really do. But then you step into the world of building a team or, trying to cultivate a company culture, and suddenly those predictable blueprints are basically useless.
Yeah, they go right out the window.
Completely. I mean, you can have the perfect job description, the perfect candidate with a flawless resume, and what you end up building still collapses under its own weight. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because today's deep dive is all about our source material on hiring for transformation. We're looking at this really compelling text that argues our modern obsession with hiring fast and hiring strictly for hard skills is actually destroying company culture.
It's a huge problem.
It is. So the mission today is to explore why a counterintuitive approach like actually slowing down the whole machine is the secret to finding truly transformative people.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this goes way beyond just a standard HR protocol discussion. This is really about a fundamental breakdown in how we construct the teams that run our world.
Right, whether it's a tiny startup or a Fortune 500 company.
Exactly. The reality remains the same. Every single hire you make does one of two things. It either actively accelerates your company's transformation or it stalls it.
So there's no neutral hire.
No, not at all. You are injecting a brand new variable into a living ecosystem.
Wow. And the text we're diving into anchors this entire concept around this brilliantly simple quote by Peter Schutz. Hire character, train skill.
It's a great quote.
It sounds great. It's the kind of thing you'd see framed on a motivational poster in a break room. But I have to ask, why is that so incredibly hard to actually follow in the real world?
Why?
Especially when the pressure is on, deadlines are looming, and a team is absolutely drowning in work.
It's hard because the real world actively demands speed. And speed is the enemy of nuance. Think about the typical hiring process outlined in our sources.
Okay.
Imagine you have a vital role to fill. Your team is burning out.
Yeah.
You needed someone, like yesterday. So what does the organization do? They panic.
Right. The panic hire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in that panic, they write a job description that is entirely focused on hard skills and past experience. They screen purely for those qualifications.
Just to see if the candidate possesses basic competence.
Right. They do a quick reference check, and then they throw an offer at whoever can do the job and start on Monday.
And in the moment, I mean, that feels like a massive win. You got a body in the seat, the workload is distributed, and everyone can take a breath.
Sure, it feels great on Monday.
But the text points out this brutal reality that follows. The 6-month regret.
Oh, yes.
Fast forward half a year, and you're sitting in your office wondering why this person is dragging the whole department down. Because, well, they have the skills, right? They might even be hitting their personal KPIs. But something is undeniably off.
That off feeling is the sound of your culture eroding.
Wow, eroding.
Yeah. I mean, they don't mesh with the team. They might be hoarding information to make themselves look indispensable, or they're constantly creating back-channel drama.
Right.
They're doing good individual work, but they do absolutely nothing to make the people around them better. The regret comes from realizing you hired for what they can do and completely ignored who they are.
But wait, if they're crushing their numbers, isn't that the point of a business? It sounds like you're telling me to penalize a high performer just because they aren't, like, best friends with the rest of the team.
Not exactly.
Because hiring based on vibes or abstract character traits sounds incredibly risky to me. It's like buying a car based solely on its top speed, only to realize 6 months later, it doesn't have a steering wheel. Sure, it goes fast, but you're gonna crash.
Take your car analogy a step further. If the car is going 150 miles an hour but wiping out everything else on the highway, it doesn't matter how powerful the engine is, right?
Okay, that's a fair point.
The source calls this the skills trap. The flawed assumption at the heart of the skills trap is that the right skills automatically equal the right hire.
Because we want things we can easily measure.
Exactly. When you're rushing to fill a seat, you naturally prioritize the easy stuff. Years of experience, specific technical competencies, a proven track record, shiny resume credentials from big-name companies.
Because they're safe. They're quantifiable metrics you can point to if things go wrong. Like, hey, they had 10 years of experience. It's not my fault.
Yeah, they are safe metrics, and I mean, they do matter. But none of those metrics tell you whether this person will actually thrive in your specific environment. Right.
The core truth the text drives home is that you can teach an employee a new software system in a week. You can train them on your internal reporting processes.
You can develop technical skills over time.
Right. But what you cannot easily change is a person's core mindset. You can't change their deeply held values.
Yeah, that's so true.
You can't train how they're going to show up when a major project goes completely off the rails. Whether their first instinct is to point fingers and blame others or to roll up their sleeves and problem solve.
Right. You can't teach someone to stop operating from fear and start operating from a place of shared purpose.
Exactly. Those behavioral traits determine if someone elevates a room or poisons it. And standard interview processes just, well, they skip right over them.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
And you'd think finding a good fit would be easier right now. If you're a hiring manager listening to this, you might be thinking, hey, a flooded market means I have my pick of the litter.
Right, that's the assumption. But the text brings in some very recent, very stark data showing exactly why hiring for mindset is more critical right now than it has ever been.
Yeah, the 2025 data reality check.
Mm.
Our source cites some highly revealing recent Gallup research concerning job market confidence.
Let's hear it.
We're looking at a plummet from a 70% confidence rate in mid-2022, crashing all the way down to a staggering 28% by late 2025.
Wait, 28%? That is a massive drop.
It is the steepest, most dramatic drop Gallup has recorded in recent years. The psychology of the workforce is just fundamentally shifted.
Let's follow that logic, though. If job market confidence is that incredibly low down to 28%, doesn't that mean there's a huge pool of available candidates aggressively looking for work?
You would think so.
Shouldn't a flooded, fearful market actually make it way easier for employers to find the talent they need?
What's fascinating here is that your assumption perfectly mirrors how the vast majority of hiring managers think, and the source points out why it's completely backwards.
Oh, really? How so?
The critical insight here relates to human psychology under pressure. An abundance of candidates in a low-confidence market means you have an abundance of desperate people, not discerning ones.
Ah, okay, I see. They aren't looking for the right fit, they're just looking for a lifeline.
Precisely. They need a job to pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily need your job
Right.
because they feel trapped. Their primary goal is just to secure an income. This means a highly skilled, highly desperate candidate will sit in that interview chair, read your cues, and say absolutely whatever you want to hear just to get the offer.
Because they're in survival mode.
Exactly. They figure they'll just deal with a cultural fit later, once the paychecks start clearing.
Wow. So if you're an employer hiring fast based just on a skills checklist in a market like this.
You're essentially guaranteeing that you bring in someone who can do the work, but who doesn't share your mission at all. You're bringing a mercenary into a team of missionaries.
Oof. A mercenary into a team of missionaries. That is a great way to put it. So what does this all mean for the actual interview?
All right, how do you actually do this?
Yeah, if you've got candidates who are desperate, polished, and ready to tell you whatever you want to hear, how do you pierce the veil? You can't just slide a piece of paper across the desk and ask, are you a good person?
They'll just smile and say yes.
Obviously. So the source gives us a really concrete framework for this. 5 specific areas of transformation assessment. Let's walk through how you actually uncover a person's true mindset, because the specific interview questions they recommend are gold.
Let's map it out. It starts with the foundation, which is purpose alignment.
Okay, purpose alignment.
You have to find out if they know why their work matters to them, not just what they do. The interview question the source recommends is, tell me about a time when your work felt most meaningful. What made it meaningful for you?
And what you're listening for here is a connection to something beyond the paycheck. Are they articulating a personal sense of purpose? Because if you ask this and they just rattle off a list of tasks they successfully accomplished, like, well, I hit my Q3 quota and filed the reports on time, they're missing that deeper alignment.
Spot on. Once you figure out if they actually care about the work, you need to know how they react when that work hits an inevitable roadblock.
Which it always does.
Always. That brings us to assessing agency versus powerlessness. Do they take ownership of their experience, or do they play the victim and blame circumstances?
Right.
The question to ask is, Tell me about a frustrating work situation you've faced. How did you handle it?
I love this one. This one makes me think of a sports analogy.
Well, let's hear it.
It's the exact difference between the player who blames the referee for a loss on the field versus the player who immediately goes to the locker room after the game, sits down, and watches the tape to see what they could have done differently.
Yes.
You want the player watching the tape.
That is the essence of agency. When they answer the frustration question,
Yeah.
you're listening closely for their locus of control.
Right. Are they looking inward or outward?
Exactly. Do they talk about what they actively did to improve or navigate the situation? Or do they spend the entire time explaining in agonizing detail why the frustration was entirely someone else's fault?
Which leads directly into how they handle outright failure. This is about growth orientation.
Pillar number 3.
Do they see challenges as opportunities to learn, or do they see them as personal threats to avoid? The interview question here is a classic, but it's tough. Describe a time when you failed at something important. What did you learn?
It is a classic, but the listen for criteria in our source is what makes it a filter rather than a formality.
Okay, what do you mean?
You aren't just listening to see if they failed. You're listening for whether they own that failure without getting defensive.
Sure.
Do they extract genuine, actionable learning from the experience?
Yeah.
You have to listen past the fake, polished failures. You know, the old, my biggest flaw is that I care too much and work too hard trick.
The worst. You want humility and genuine curiosity. But business isn't a solo sport. So the next area is assessing collaboration over competition.
Right, number 4.
Do they elevate the people around them, or are they a lone wolf who just happens to sit in an office next to other people? The question to read this out is, tell me about a time you helped a colleague succeed, even when it didn't directly benefit you.
The subtle cue you're looking for here is their physical and emotional reaction. Watch their body language.
Like, do they light up?
Yeah. Do they genuinely light up when they talk about someone else's success? Do they view a team win as their own win? Or do they visibly struggle, staring at the ceiling, trying to invent an example of a time they helped someone without a selfish motive?
If they're struggling to remember a single time they helped a teammate, that's a massive red flag.
Huge red flag.
The ultimate pressure test, though, is the final one. Values lived, not just stated.
Number 5.
Because it's so easy to claim you have integrity or value teamwork in an interview. But do their actions actually align with those claims when things get hard? The approach here is to share one of your organization's core values. Let's say it's transparency. And ask, tell me about a time when you had to make a difficult choice that aligned with this value.
Because a value isn't truly a value until it costs you something.
Oh, wow. That's good.
If it's easy, it's just a preference. When they answer, you are listening for specificity and real stakes. You need evidence that this value actually guided their behavior in a moment where it would have been much easier or more profitable to take a shortcut.
Those 5 pillars, purpose, agency, growth, collaboration, and values lived, are incredible filters. But, if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, okay, most smart leaders probably know they should be doing that.
Or they read the same books.
Yeah. Yet they still fail. We still end up with toxic cultures. Why?
Because, as the source points out, their internal systems are designed purely for speed and efficiency, not for transformation.
Even with the best intentions.
Even then, the mechanics of the hiring process actively sabotage the outcome. Leaders rely on psychological safety blankets.
The text actually details these specific sabotage traps. First, the job description.
Yes, the dreaded job description.
Companies will list 15 required technical skills, bullet point after bullet point, demanding 5 years of experience in a software that's only existed for 3 years.
Right, which makes no sense.
It's absurd, but they include absolutely zero requirements regarding mindset or values. Why? Because a checklist of hard skills feels quantifiable. It feels safe to a panicked manager.
Then there's the trap of the one interview hire. They meet a candidate once, like what they see on the surface, and make an offer because they are desperate to fill the seat and get back to their real jobs.
They just want it over with.
Exactly. Or worse, they screen out candidates who have the exact transformative mindset they desperately need simply because the candidate lacks one specific piece of exact experience they could have easily been taught in 2 weeks.
And my personal favorite, trap letting, one incredibly strong technical skill, completely overshadow massive behavioral red flags.
The justification trap.
Yes. It's like, sure, he completely insulted his last boss during the interview and he interrupted me 4 times, but his coding skills are off the charts, so we have to hire him.
It's justifying bad behavior for the sake of immediate utility. The overarching warning from the text is clear. Optimizing for speed in hiring almost always costs you dearly in culture.
But, I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a mid-level manager with their hair on fire right now. Their team is burning out, deadlines are looming, client emails are piling up.
It's a stressful place to be.
It really is. They are listening to this thinking, I can't afford to leave this role open for 2 more months looking for the perfect cultural unicorn. I need a body in the seat today just to keep the lights on.
The source provides a very stark counterargument to that panicked manager. You can't afford not to wait.
Really?
Yes. You have to look at the hidden math of a bad hire. It's not just the salary you're paying them.
Let's break that math down because it's terrifying.
If you rush and bring in a toxic hire just to relieve immediate pressure, they instantly start undermining the culture you've spent years building.
Right?
Then, you as the manager spend the next 6 months of your life trapped in closed-door HR meetings, trying to fix a person who was never aligned with your values to begin with.
That is the worst.
You're losing hours of your own productivity managing their fallout. Meanwhile, that toxicity is driving your actual good people away.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So now you don't just have one open role, you have three. And inevitably, 12 months later, you have to fire the toxic hire and restart the entire agonizing process anyway.
When you frame it like that, it's not even a choice. A few weeks of overtime is nothing compared to a year of cultural damage.
Exactly. A role left open for a few extra weeks while you find the right person is infinitely cheaper, financially, emotionally, and culturally, than putting the wrong person in the role for a year.
Because the right hire elevates everyone.
Right. The right hire doesn't just do the job. They transform how the job gets done. They raise the baseline performance of everyone around them.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The source doesn't just drop this heavy realization on us and walk away. It gives us an implementation playbook.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. It shows us how to actually fix this without grinding the whole company to a halt. You don't have to overhaul your entire HR department or bring in expensive consultants overnight.
It's about making small, highly leveraged shifts in the current process.
Okay, let's hear the steps.
Step one,
Mm.
just add one single values-based interview round. Don't mix it in with the technical screening.
Keep it separate.
Exactly. After you've confirmed they have the hard skills, have one conversation entirely dedicated to mindset using the questions we discussed. Bring in multiple interviewers and debrief together.
Step 2. Make values a threshold, not just a nice-to-have bonus.
This is crucial.
This is the hardest part for companies to actually execute. It means if a candidate is a hard yes on skills like they are the most technically gifted person you've ever seen, but they raise red flags on values, they are a no. Period. You pass on them. Because, as the text says, the role will get filled eventually, but your culture won't recover nearly as easily.
And step 3, involve your team in the process.
That makes so much sense.
The people who are going to be in the trenches with this new hire every single day
Yeah.
have a much more finely tuned radar for cultural fit than a hiring manager who sits in a different office or, only interacts with them on weekly Zoom calls.
Right. Let the team interview the candidate.
And more importantly, give them veto power. Take their input seriously.
So to bring this all together, the core thesis from our sources today is that hiring is never just a logistical task of filling open roles.
No, not at all.
It is literally the act of choosing who gets to shape your culture. You can hire fast and regret it slowly, or you can hire thoughtfully and benefit for years.
Skills and experience certainly matter. I mean, you need someone who can do the job. But when it comes to true organizational transformation, a candidate's mindset and values will always be the deciding factor between success and failure.
And I think for you listening right now, whether you're the hiring manager desperately trying to build a resilient team, or you're a candidate trying to navigate this brutal, low-confidence 2025 job market without losing your sanity, this totally changes the game.
It really does.
It's a powerful reminder that your mindset is your most untrainable and therefore your absolute most valuable asset.
It is. And while the source focuses entirely on how companies should assess candidates, I think this raises an important question for you, the listener, to mull over on your own.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If we turn the mirror around and applied these 5 pillars, purpose, agency, growth, collaboration, and live values, to our own lives, how would we pass the interview?
Wow, that's a deep question.
Before we expect a company to have a transformative culture, perhaps we need to ask if we are actually bringing a transformative mindset to the table ourselves.
That is a phenomenal point to leave on. If we want to demand better environments, we have to make sure we're contributing to them. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into hiring, culture, and the real secret to making a team work. We'll catch you next time.